Let's get to it, though. We have a lot to talk about, why we are discussing it. Of course, the offseason begins. There's a lot of buzz about what Brooklyn is doing, what Brooklyn is not doing, and Mikal being a big part of how he needs to get out of there and wherever he goes. But ideally, a lot of people would like to have him back here. Kyle, you want to begin this
so
one?
Sort of an overview on Mikal Bridges. Smooth athlete, textbook size for a wing. Great eye test player, 90th percentile or better in spot ups, transition, pick and roll ball handling, cuts, offense off of screens, made 43.5% of his threes, but also shot 59.3% inside the arc, takes the quality shots that the defense gives him. He's not a true one-on-one scorer, but he knows how to pick his spots and can be a complementary weapon who doesn't need a lot of dribbles. That's what scouts were saying about Mikal Bridges in 2018 when they should have just stayed where they were at, kept the hometown kid, played at Villanova, was a big winner there. And, frankly, the only things that have changed since then are to the positive. I think, going to Phoenix or ending up in Phoenix, he did slot into the role that he would play here, right? More of the complementary. He's your third guy some nights. Sometimes he's even further down the list as a fourth option, not because of the talent, but because he's willing to take that back seat. And then he goes down and buys in, locks in on the other end of the floor, takes the top assignment on the other team and says, this is my primary responsibility tonight, is shutting this guy down, slowing this guy down, whoever that might be. He's got the size, the athleticism, all that to match basically all the top wings that you have to stop to get to an Eastern Conference Finals, an NBA Finals, and eventually win a championship. Now, after he leaves Phoenix, and certainly he's part of a great finals run there as part of some winning teams as he was at the college level, he got a chance these last couple of years to be a number one option on most nights and to show what he can do as an individual scorer. Last year did not go quite as well in terms of, anything, team success, the individual numbers, all that. That run at the end of 22-23, I think it was like a 25 to 30 game stretch that he had after being moved from Phoenix to Brooklyn. I think people were taken aback, like, oh, wow, he's got a lot more as an individual isolation, lead the offense type of scorer than maybe people expected, and showed that it's not always about the limitations of his skill set. It's about how many opportunities is he getting? Are there other guys who have it going? Playing with guys like Chris Paul, Devin Booker, so on and so forth. There are only going to be so many shots and touches to go around.
Yep.
And we talk a lot about guys that are willing to buy in, play specific roles, adapt as necessary in order to win. And long before he was at the NBA level, we saw that out of Mikal at Villanova, right? Like his role would change night to night. He's playing with some ball dominant guys and saying, okay, maybe I'm the second or third most important player tonight, but I'm going to find ways to impact winning. And so when we get into the discussion of how much it's going to cost or how much it would theoretically cost, it's why I personally would be willing to hit a higher bar for him than some of these flawed stars who are maybe better isolation, one-on-one, like number one scorer type options, because I feel confident that he's going to do and is willing to do whatever it takes in order to get your team from this area that they're stuck in the second round muck to that conference finals, to that finals, and that he has the skill set to adapt when times get tough. So checks all the boxes as far as I'm concerned. I think the biggest thing that we'll get to eventually is I'm not sure he's gettable.
Well, you said that he is willing to do whatever it takes to win. The question is his family willing to do whatever it takes to win? And I think the answer to that has been pretty clear over the last couple of months.
How do you know that?
Look, it's a results business, buddy. Do or do not. There is no try.
The draft is at the end of the month.
No, I mean, I
you hinting at something there?
I'm not saying anything.
Kyle brought it up. I think one of the more intriguing things is that his catch and shoot numbers, especially over the last 4 or so years, have been remarkably consistent.
Yeah.
38 and these are catch and shoots from three. 38.3% last year, 38.7% the year before that, 38.1 before that, 40.5 before that, all on pretty good volume. Not like elite Paul George level volume, but pretty good volume. And that consistency, I think, is pretty important, especially when you start talking about sliding him back into the role he had maybe back in a Phoenix-type part of his career. I do think his defense has dropped off a little bit over the last 2 years since getting to Brooklyn. I don't know if that is because he is asked to do so much more on offense or if that's just because they're playing nonsense basketball. I can't get into the mindset of professional athletes. Maybe there's somebody closer to him who could. Who knows? He's still a good defender, but I think what was he, runner-up in Defensive Player of the Year with Phoenix?
Second, yep.
He was on first team all defense,
yep.
yep. And then after that, did he win most improved? No, I think it was like third or fourth in most improved.
He was fourth and most improved in 2022-23.
He took that all defense team, that runner-up in Defensive Player of the Year, and improved enough to where he got most improved consideration after that. And usually when you're already that good of a player, it's tough to get a most improved. So he's obviously improved a lot offensively. Like I said, his ability to fit a role at an elite level, that high volume catch and shoot threes at pretty consistent marks, and be a Defensive Player of the Year caliber player. And I think we can get back to that if he's not asked to carry the entire offense like he has been. He's obviously very intriguing. Obviously.
We knew he can play offense and score the basketball. And then you see when he gets there with Brooklyn for that second half of the season where he's dropping career highs of 45, 47. He's doing. The three-point shooting was already developing. People were worried about the hitch in the shot and that. No, it was the way he shot the basketball. It was his shot, and it would go in. And the defense, to Derek's point of Brooklyn this year, Kel mentioned it himself, that there was so much on his plate that something took a step back. He takes pride in that, and that's something that he definitely wants to get back to, and being in those discussions of the all-defensive team, being and runner and
you just got to come on down to death row, Mikal. Come play with Joel
Embiid. In those conversations,
don't have the producers all in the video.
No shiny suits, and being in the conversations again for winning that award.
I just appreciate you going back to old enough to a reference I still get.
That's one of I make that reference too often, frankly.
He's the when you say the consummate team guy, as I see that, because I feel like it pod says in there, he's the consummate team guy. He always just wants his team to win. He says it in his interviews. He says that away from cameras. He says that to whoever he needs to say to hear it when the conversations are had. And that's just who he is. He just wants to win. So from Great Valley to Villanova, where he adjusts his game to each level, to Phoenix, to Brooklyn, where he had to be the number one guy, he adjusts to what the environment is, what it is for you to win. And with the Philadelphia 76ers being in the position that they are currently in right now and looking for that other player to fit in and slide in, when we talk so much about, will Brandon Ingram figure out what the role is and be okay with that? Will Paul George understand that, hey, Maxi's a young budding all-star, you might want to let him be the number two, and then so on and so forth down the line with all these other players. Mikal knows exactly what his role is, but he will also elevate and try to thrive in that next step up in that role if given that opportunity to show his scoring chops, which he has done from the three-point range, driving to the basket with his limb, finishing at the rim, and in his patented, I'm going to get you on my hip, I'm going to get to my spot 15 to 17, and I'm going to shoot that pull-up jump shot that a lot of people frown at because he's so efficient. Derek, you might have the numbers of those mid-range jump shots that he takes from that 15,
we talk about it a lot.
17.
That's an important shot in the playoffs specifically.
Exactly. So you have to find those, and that's what Kel does.
We all silly like the mayor.